Dear friends, how grateful I am to be with you today. This is the Madrid, Spain temple. I'm really conscious of the beauty of this marvelous place, and the temple, of course, is a house of ordinances, and foremost among those ordinances is the covenant and the ordinance of eternal marriage, what we call celestial marriage or temple sealing, where through the power, through the authority of the holy priesthood, the priesthood of Christ restored in this latter day by Peter, James and John, the apostles, the ancient apostles of Christ, to Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. They gave him that priesthood, and later on, of course, he received the keys of the sealing power from Elijah, the prophet who held those keys anciently. And in our temples we perform sealing ordinances, and those sealing ordinances are the ordinance where a man and a woman are sealed together for time and all eternity, and their children yet unborn are sealed to them, born in the covenant, what we call born in the covenant. If they have other children that are living after they are sealed, they can bring those children with them to be sealed to them. So children who were born already before the husband and wife were sealed in the temple, they can bring those children with them at the appropriate time to have them sealed to them in the temple. The sealing is intended to be eternal. It's intended to be unbreakable. It's intended to be a bond and that lasts forever, that has power and longevity to it through the infinite atonement of Christ. I'm struck by the fact that this temple, and you can see as I place the camera on it, this temple was constructed in 1999, which is really interesting because that's the year that I was sealed to my wife Veronica in the Preston, England temple. And so the foundation really of this temple, I mean, obviously this was constructed before 1999, but it was dedicated then. And so this dedicated building, this house of the Lord, in 1999 became a place where families could go to be sealed eternally. And that's a great symbol. It's a great message that as I ponder on my own temple sealing, the promise of an eternal marriage is it's not automatic. It's something that you have to qualify for. You have to be worthy of. You have to be willing. You have to dedicate and consecrate your mind and heart and soul and body to that ordinance, to that covenant, to that partnership. And it is a process and it takes time. But as an eternal marriage is intended to be built on a firm foundation, so is the temple of the Lord. The temple of the Lord is built on a sturdy, solid foundation. A foundation that is strong, that doesn't waver. And so it is with eternal marriage. It's intended to be eternal. And that requires a firm foundation. Foundation built on Jesus Christ and faith in Him and His restored gospel. His power, His priesthood, His laws, His righteousness, His love. All of these principles and doctrines which are central to our lives. I'm so grateful for the Holy Temple, and for the covenant and ordinances of marriage in particular, and how marriage is intended to help us to reach the greatest heights of which we are capable, and that requires that we are able to grow and progress and become something more than we are, and it is a process, but the temple symbolizes that marriage union really well, the idea that two become one, that two walk in Christ, are united in Christ, walk towards Christ, and become one in righteousness in Him. And as they do that, and only as they do that, do they become one in Him. And that's the eternal nature of the marriage covenant. That's the ultimate sense in which it's supposed to be a unity in righteousness. It requires a man and a woman and God uniting together in one. So how grateful I am to be at this holy temple where the doctrine and the ordinance of marriage is taught in the most sublime manner. Christ is the Lord of marriage, and that his desire is that marriages should last eternally, but that can only happen through righteousness, through love, through truth, through priesthood power, through eternal faithfulness to God's plan. How grateful I am for these marvelous and precious principles.